to the success of the organization. If you have a change management project, the key for success is always good communication. Good communication must be done in a language which is easily understood. Maybe good communication has to use different types of languages if different stakeholder groups with different background knowledge are concerned. And it must be based on respect for the concerns of the stakeholder groups, respect for the fears, respect for the risks they perceive, but also with respect for the true commitment most of them really have to the success of the organization. It's not just a question of what your position towards the people, the concerned people are. It's a question that you prepare the good communication extensively by analyzing on the one hand what's the real impact of the new use of ICT is on the daily work life of the various stakeholder groups, and by really dealing in detail with the fears and with the counter-arguments of the stakeholders, by anticipating the counter-arguments and by preparing good, clear and respectful answers to these counter-arguments. Finally, once again, necessity convinces people more than good examples. Technology, the solution of practical problems by technology improves, convinces people much more than the prediction of some benefits in a case where there are no real problems. So you should focus your communication on demonstrating very clearly that there are problems which are then solved with new technology, and therefore a change of work is necessary, and that the technology helps to do this change of work in a proper and good way. This finishes my presentation, and I'm now ready for your questions.
Folks, if you have any questions, there is a hand icon available on your webinar console. So if you raise your hand, I shall be able to give you an opportunity to speak to Professor Riedl. And equally, you can post your questions in the chat box, and I'll be happy to read them over for you. Let's move to the first question we have. Let me try to unmute. Mr. Malik Abid Hussain, can you hear us? Mr. Abid Hussain. Hello, Mr. Abid Hussain, you have raised your hand. I have unmuted your mic so you can speak up by introducing yourself first, please. Mr. Abid Hussain. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, so you can either post your question in the chat box, and I'll be happy to read it on your behalf. Okay, we have a question posted in the chat box. Professor, could you highlight a few of the main fears you have observed in people while embracing ICT?
Okay. Probably the most important fear is that ICT will enable the upper management to control in very detail which work is done by the civil servants, if it's done in a proper way, if they have enough speed in doing their work. So there's this big fear that they are much better controlled, and this control doesn't is not a good control in the sense that it's specific to the problems they're dealing with, but it's just a statistical control that the upper management gets new statistics about the behavior and the work behavior of civil servants. This is probably the most important fear. Other fears are that, well, I wouldn't even call it fear, but in practice it turns out that it needs time to really get along with the new technology. You have to learn how to use it properly, and so one might say there's a fear that it will take you too much time to learn it, that it will prevent you for doing other important parts of your work. But anyways, these learning efforts are really an important issue why people oppose the change. And the third thing is that there is, this sounds a little bit funny, but I've observed it many times, that there's a fear that the colleagues in other departments get a good understanding of what is going on in your own department. So in some cases people would be willing that the public even understands what they're doing, but there's a big fear that the guys in the other departments get detailed information of what they're doing, and that they will use this type of information in the internal debates and quarreling. So probably I would say these are the three most important fears people have.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have another question, a rather common posted by Brother Abid Hussain. Said, sir, with due respect, I don't agree with the hypothesis that 80% time is spent on technology and 20% on change management. In my opinion, people welcome the change, but they are apprehensive about the misuse of technology. So, as, I think.
Okay, yeah. On the one hand, of course, when I say 80%, 20%, it's a little bit an extreme statement, really to highlight the problem. I would agree that it's not full 80%, and I would agree that, of course, there are many projects which are run just in the right way, that the projects focus on people issues and so. But indeed, still, I've observed many projects which spend a lot of attention purely on technology. Now I come to the second part of your comment. The second part of your comment was people are concerned about the abuse of technology. This is a big problem, and it's a big problem because there are different forms of abuse. One of the forms of abuse of technology one usually does not think of is that technology now offers you the possibility to do a lot of data processing, which you couldn't do before because there simply was no chance that you have the data and you process the data. At the end, so there's this type of abuse of technology that data processing occurs, which is simply not necessary for the real tasks of the public administration. And there's this form of abuse that a lot of new data are created which are of no value to everyone. This is a very important abuse. Also, it doesn't come along in a negative way. People have the best attitude. They say, oh great, we have now this new technology and we can do a lot of new things. But at the end, all these new things fail, and they create just useless efforts. I've heard from many public administrations, or many civil servants from public administrations, telling me the stories that after introducing the new technology,